Hello, music fans. I'm continuing my favorite bands that start with every letter series, and today the letter is I. My favorite band that starts with the letter I is Intronaut. They're a prog metal band. They're kind of sludgy. If you like bands like The Ocean or Cult of Luna, you might like that aspect of their sound. They're also very rhythm oriented, polyrhythmic stuff. If you like stuff like Meshuggah and Tool, you might like that aspect of their sound. It's a very drummer focused band, so if you really like intricate drumming, it's some of the best drumming I've heard in recent times, and maybe ever actually. Some of the drumming on this stuff is just crazy. The guitars provide more of an atmospheric role, and same thing with the vocals. The vocals are not really the highlight of this band. They're more, they have some clean vocals. There's, I think the two guitar players are singing as well. They don't have a front man or a vocalist that just sings. It's their instrumentalists that also provide vocals. And they kind of provide, they're almost like they're both backing vocalists. They just kind of harmonize with each other when they're doing clean singing. There's some screaming in there too. But yeah, really cool band. I ranked their albums with my friend John on my channel, so there's a ranking video for you to check out if you want to hear what I think about each of their albums. And my second favorite band that starts with the letter I is the band I Wrestled a Bear Once. And they're a metalcore band, very avant-garde and adventurous, pretty brutal, almost like grindcore sometimes. But then they also have lots of genre bending, almost progressive at times, where they jump into jazzy passages. They are kind of gimmicky. They do a lot of weird noises, like you'll hear a horse neighing and then they'll do a breakdown, or like some weird sounds in there. But it's kind of fun. It's silly. It's not to be taken too seriously. If you see some of their music videos, you'll know that for sure. It's also female fronted. They've had two different vocalists, both were female singers who are able to scream and sing. One of them is Courtney LaPlante, who's now, since I Wrestled the Bear Once doesn't exist anymore, she's now moved on to start another band, Spirit Box, which is also a good band. And yeah, that's it for I Wrestled the Bear Once. So I got some honorable mentions. I think I've got 6 other bands that I have in mind that start with the letter I that I wanted to mention today. On the prog side, we've got Ihsahn. He's progressive black metal from Norway. He was in the legendary black metal band Emperor, which is maybe a bit too raw black metal for me, but I do like some of their stuff. But I prefer his more progressive work, and he's doing that more with his solo stuff. It's still black metal, but it's progressive. There's saxophones, there's time signature changes, there's singing, there's screaming, there's cool adventurous stuff going on all the time in his music. So I really enjoy that. Another one on the prog side is a band called Is, but they're not metal, they're just progressive rock, kind of like the 70s stuff, except they are a more modern band. They're not from the 70s, but they sound like they're from the 70s. If you're a fan of bands like King Crimson, Genesis, Yes, those kinds of things. So those are kind of the classic bands that they remind me of. Or more modern bands like Porcupine Tree, they kind of sound like those bands. So I recommend you check out Is, that's IZZ, or ZZ if you're American. That's it on the prog side. I don't know, one more on the prog side. An instrumental prog metal band from Canada called Intervals. One of their albums has vocals, so they're not fully instrumental throughout their whole discography, but most of Interval's music is instrumental, very guitar oriented, focused on the guitar playing of Aaron Marshall. He's a really good guitar player, really cool compositions, good band to see live. Yeah, I recommend Intervals. If you're a fan of bands like Animals as Leaders, or Polyphia, or Chon, that kind of instrumental progressive metal, this will be right up your alley. Now let's look at some bands that aren't prog at all. How about In Flames, one of the big pioneers of the Swedish melodic death metal movement. Their older stuff is melodic death metal. Their newer stuff, they've kind of moved more towards alternative metal, and I actually like both. I know a lot of people really hate their new stuff and only like their old melodic death metal stuff, but I like all of their stuff. I don't love it all, but I can enjoy and appreciate every album that they've put out. Two more bands to mention. One on more of the post-hardcore side, called I Am Ghost, which I believe they've only released 2 albums and they don't exist anymore. But they were a great post-hardcore band that had violin and had male and female vocals, so you had dual lead vocals, kind of duet male vocal, female vocal harmonies in a lot of their songs. Really catchy choruses, cool guitar riffs, awesome use of violin, really cool atmosphere to that band. If that sounds up your alley, I recommend checking them out. And last but not least, I need to mention, of course, the legendary heavy metal band Iron Maiden. I couldn't not say them for this letter. One of the biggest and best heavy metal bands of all time. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about them. I feel like everybody knows Iron Maiden. The Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, their big songs. And they're still making music to this day. They released an album this year, Senjutsu. It's not their best work by any means, in my opinion, but it's not bad. Like, they keep producing quality music. They haven't really lost their quality. They dipped a bit in the 90s. I'm not a fan of their albums with Blaze Bayley as much, but their other albums are pretty good. They have another few of the Bruce ones are a little weak as well, but most of their albums are pretty solid. And that's it for bands that start with the letter I. Hope you heard some bands that you like. Let me know if you have others to suggest to me. And until next time, we'll talk about the letter J. Peace out.